Thank you for tuning in to part 2 of the Golden Snitch. Like I said on my last video, I have decided to give it some colour. As you can see, I struggled last time to get the second wing in, but it's in now, so as you can see, it's all finished. So I'm really happy with that. So in this video it's going to be about preparing, ready to paint, and then obviously at the end I'll be painting it. The colours I've chosen to paint it is, I have a burnt umber, which is a nice dark brown, so it'll give the stand quite a more of a, like I suppose a mahogany or a dark oak look. The wings I'm planning on doing it in silver, which I have here, and obviously the Golden Snitch will be gold. But before I come to paint it, because it was popped out of a board, there's a lot, maybe just gently take that out of there, there's little bumps where you can't actually see them but you can feel them. So what I'm going to be doing now is just giving it a very quick sanding all the way around the edges, just to get rid of any little lumps and bumps from where it was still attached to the main board. And the same here, there's a few little lumps and bumps. So that's what I'll be doing to start with before I start painting. I haven't actually got all the sandpaper I've got at the moment is quite coarse, so what I'm using is just a simple nail file, which, you know, it's gentle enough for your nails, so it'll be enough for these. So it's just a case of finding the little bumps and just giving it a little bit of a gentle rub until you can't feel the bump anymore. So there's that, and there's the next one, and then I think there's one underneath as well. Okay, so that's basically all you need to do. So now I've got the other one to do, and the stand and the ball, so I'm sure you're not going to want to watch me sanding down, so I'll be back shortly once it's all sanded down. Okay, thanks. Okay, that's all the pieces sanded down now. Everything's nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do next is give them a couple of coats of just basically thin down white paint, just to use as a base coat, so that way it'll help when I come to do the proper colours. It won't soak them up quite as much and give it a bit better finish. So because like I say, I've watered it down, that way it will hopefully keep the detail of like the wings, because as you can see they've got, oh, I'm not sure if you can tell, but there's like grooves in them, I suppose to make it look more like a feather effect. So anyway, I'll start off with one of the wings. So it's just very, very gently and a thin coat. Oh, there we go. Just try and do it as thinly as possible. That's not very good. Get rid of that bit. There we go. Just give it a nice thin coat, because as you can see the grooves are still showing through. It's not very good at all. I seem to have lots of bits in there. It's probably because it's been used, the jar's been used quite a lot. I tend to keep it constantly in there, if you know what I mean, so as it's always handy and ready to go when I need it. So I can let you see, just very, very gently go over until it's fully covered. Go right to the end here. I'm not going to do the bottom side. I'll have to do that once the front has been done, because I'll need to put these down on the tissue paper to dry out. So like I say, I'll have to do it in a couple of stages. But as you can see, it's simple enough. Just paint it all white and thin. I tend to find that if you use thinner coats and do 3 or 4, or sometimes you can get away with 2, but if there is any detail, it helps to keep the detail as well as gives it a better finish. So that's one wing done. So that's that. Excuse my hands. Woo! So yeah, so like I say, I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to do the parts that I haven't painted that they're sitting on, and then I'm going to give it all a second coat, and then hopefully after the second coat I should know whether it'll need a third coat, because I want it to be completely white before I start painting with the other colours. But once I've done that, I'll be back and we'll look at painting with the colours. Okay, so I'll be back soon. Okay, as you can see, I've completely whitewashed everything now. They've taken 3 coats of the white paint, but they're all ready now, I think, to take on a spot of colour. So I'll just pop that to one side. The colours I decided on, like I said at the beginning, are number 352, which is a gold colour. I'm using the Pebeo Studio Acrylics. I've used these paints before and they are very, very good. They give a nice finish. So that will be for the actual golden snitch. The wings I'll be painting in a silver colour. This is number 351, again the Pebeo Studio Acrylics, and the stand I'll be doing in a dark brown, which is, this particular one is called Burnt Umber, and it's number 29, again from the Pebeo Studio Acrylics. These were actually purchased from Hobbycraft. I'm not 100% certain where else you could get them from. So to start with, I'm going to do the actual stand itself, which again, like I say, I'm going to be painting in the brown. What I've already done is I've put a small amount into a tub and just watered it down a little, probably 1 part paint to half of the volume of water, and just giving it a good mix. I learnt the hard way about 12-18 months ago that you don't put acrylics on directly because it just does not look right. It goes on far too thickly. So I always find that try and make it a little bit, just water it down, even if it's just like I say, half the volume of water. It just gives it that, it's just a lot easier to put on. That's what I've found anyway. So I've managed to find a bit smaller brush as well, so that should help me. So just bear with me 1 second. I'm not going to make the same mistake again and end up covered in paint. So I'm just going to don on my latex gloves and I'll make a start painting the stand. Okay, so again, it's just a matter of very, very thin coats. Obviously, initially the first coat will be, the white will show through, but obviously as you build up the layers, the colour will be a lot better. So just very, very carefully, try not to avoid getting like clumps of the paint. Try and make it nice and even. And there's that. So there we go. And nearly done. I have cheated a little because I haven't actually painted the underneath. I thought there's no point really, because why do the underside if it's not going to be seen? So that's the reason why I haven't bothered with that. So here we go, nearly there. One part that I found when I was painting is these little corners of the stand as well. They were really awkward to get into, hence why I decided to get a smaller brush, so as it makes it a bit easier to get in. To be honest, the first coat, it doesn't really matter about going with the grain or anything like that. But obviously it's personal preference, I suppose. The first coat, I'm just more bothered about getting it on as evenly as possible than watching for brush strokes. But I must admit, yes, I suppose subconsciously I'm also looking at that as well. So there we go. I think that's everything covered, and that's the first coat of the stand done. I'll just go and wash the paintbrush out and move on to the next part, which I think I'll do the wings next. So I'll be right back. Okay, so my paintbrush is all nice and clean now, ready for the silver paint for the wings. Right, hubby has very kindly let me borrow a couple of his magic clip holders which is going to make life a little bit easier, because this way I can do both sides and just they can stand up, so as I'm not having to do one side and then the other. So again, with silver I just mixed the same as I did with the brown to make it that bit a little bit thinner. So here we go. Let's hope. Pray. So again, just very, very lightly paint over. Okay, so I think that will do for the first coat, and again I'll be back shortly after I've washed out my paintbrush. Okay, so lastly, time for the golden snitch. So I think I've got everything now. There we go. I think that's everything. That's the first coat done. Okay, so I'll need to leave those to dry for a couple of hours. And then give them this second coat, and then hopefully from that I should know it's going to need obviously at least another coat, but it may need 3 or 4, because like I say, I've made it a bit thinner so as the detail remains there. So I'll be back shortly once it's dried to give it another coat. And I'm back, and it's all painted now. As you can see, it's taken 4 coats, but it has come out really nice. As you can see, I'm quite pleased with that. So now I'm going to be putting it back together and see what it looks like. Now, I did have a little bit of an accident, so a bit of a learning curve, I guess. The wing that was a little bit tight, it actually, the narrow bit here broke. Thankfully my hubby who's making models, jumped in and gave me a hand with his super glue and everything. So that's all stuck back together. So just a warning, if you decide, you know, if you manage to find one of these and fancy a go, just be very, very careful when you're getting them in and out, because they are quite tight, for want of a better word. Obviously they're not 100% perfect. So what I've done is I have sanded it down, but I'm just going to be extremely careful when putting it back together. So I'm going to leave that wing until after, because this one, for some reason this one goes in quite easily. And as you can remember from the actual build video, they go in, they've got 2 slots, one either side. There's one and there's the other, and obviously the back there is the bit that goes on the stand. So I shall pop that one in there very, very gently. Now I am a little bit nervous about putting this one in, I have to admit, but I think hopefully with filing it down it should be okay. And there we go, and it's in. So there's that. Let me pop the back in. Like I say, I've had to file things down, because one thing you don't realise is as you're painting, obviously it adds a couple of millimeters onto the actual dimensions, so things will be a little bit tighter. So I went through and actually filed in the holes and on the ends, and obviously, like with the stand here, I never gave it a thought that by painting right up to the end it wouldn't fit in. So as you can see, it looks a bit rough there, but at least now it does fit in the hole. So there are a couple little things that now it's back together I want to just touch up. I can see where obviously I've tried to avoid the bits where it goes into the holes, but some, like right on the edges here on the wings and a little bit on the back there where I've had to file down, it just needs a little bit of a touch up. But what I'll probably do is actually glue it all together, because I don't plan on taking this back apart again. So there we go, that's the finished Snitch. So again, thank you very much for watching, and if you've enjoyed the videos, please like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. Obviously this is all new to me, so I'm hoping to continue on doing these sort of things from now on. My next project will hopefully be coming soon. I'm not 100% certain what I'm going to be doing, but obviously anybody who's subscribed will be the first to know. So thanks again, take care and stay safe, and I'll be back soon. Bye for now.